All right, so I've had one scripture specifically on my mind for probably the last 4 days, and I've had two people reach out to me today, plus my own stuff going on in my personal life, and I said, man, maybe somebody just needs the encouragement, that God give me. And I have situations going on in my own life, and I've had people tell me before, you stay at the altar at church. Yes, baby, yes, because I need that guidance. It's not always that somebody's repenting, or it's not always that, they've screwed up so bad and it's, God, I'm scared I'm going to go to hell type of thing. Sometimes it's, God, what do I do? God, am I doing the right thing? God, if there's anything in me that's not pleasing to you, God, if I'm doing something wrong, if I'm not on the right path, then God, show me that. And here recently, just more of a consecration thing than anything is seeking guidance for everything. God, if my left foot don't hit exactly where you want it, God, then redirect me. And more specifically with just my daily actions. God, I don't want anybody to see anything in me that doesn't come from you. God, I don't want them to see my flesh. God, when people look at me, I need them to see you. I don't want them to see anything that's of me. God, if there's any of that left, then show me so that I can work on that. And James 1:5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. So that tells me it doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter what your situation is. If you ask God, God, what do I do? God, how do I handle this? He's going to tell you. All you have to do is listen for it. And, I began to ask him the other day, God, am I wrong for thinking like that? Like, is that my flesh? Am I supposed to think that way? And, I've had other people come up to me, well, what do I do? Because I feel like I'm the bad person in that situation. Or, is that really a godly thing to do? And the thing that just kept keying up in my spirit is, when you live for God, that doesn't mean that you have to be passive. It doesn't mean that you just have to let people run all over you. It doesn't mean that you don't have a boundary line. That means that you handle it in a godly way. And Matthew 10:16 says, behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be wise as serpent and innocent as doves. That means don't be stupid. Handle things like they need to be handled. You can do the right thing and still be godly about it. I've had some issues with the school, and I told them, look, at no point are you ever going to get me in here hollering and yelling and cussing and screaming like that. That chick is gone. She ain't been here in years. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that I'm not still going to fight and advocate. But you have to do it the right way. If you're, in a toxic environment, or you're going through a really hard situation in your life and you really aren't being done right, or there's more that can be done and you have to make sure that it's getting done, or if you're really and truly catching the rough end of that stick, it's okay to say, hey, how you're doing me is wrong, and we can't have that. There's a boundary line here. This is what I will accept and this is what I will not accept. But you don't have to be ungodly about it. You don't have to bust up in somewhere and kick the door down and holler and cuss and scream like a 5-year-old would. You don't have to act like that, because that's not what God would do. Now, I ain't saying flipping the table ain't out of the realm of possibilities, because Jesus do that. Anyways, and sometimes you have to remember when you live for God that sometimes other people don't. And maybe some of them do, and they're, the check-a-box Sunday Christians, and, going to a church service once a week is good for them, And sometimes you really don't know where that person stands. But that doesn't excuse your behavior. You still have to make sure that you're walking in God's will, that you don't step out of line, and that you don't misrepresent Him. Because if you wear His name but not His nature, then you misrepresent God. And that gets you in trouble, not the other person. And that is Luke 23:34. And it says, and Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So maybe instead of, the old you is, bust in and tear the town up. Because I'm not going to lie, that's what old me would do. That's what old me would do. But instead, say, God, show them their ways. God, show them the ways that they're failing. Show them their shortcomings. God, show them the areas of their life that's not matching up to your word. Lord, you bring correction to them so that this matter can be rectified, God, because it's not my place to convict them, God, that's yours. It's my job to show you through me so that when I talk to them, they see your spirit and not mine. And I promise you, you'll get a whole bunch different results. Proverbs 10:9 says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. So that tells me, everything done in dark will come to light. If you mess people over and you do things wrong, God will reveal that, But then on the flip side, if you walk like you're supposed to and you do things like you're supposed to, God rewards that. Y'all, I swear to you today, I had to go pick Noah up from school. And I had to go to Walmart. I had to get some more ink for the printer. And I was trying to get in Walmart and out so that he did not get overstimulated. I'm in and out of Walmart in 10 minutes flat. Got to get back to the school to go pick up the other two out of the car right online. One thing I've learned about Noah is he likes to do the checkout. He likes to scan the items when you go through the self-checkout. So I turned everything over today, let him see all the barcodes. He scanned all of them. I let him bag how he wanted to bag, and we, shot out of there. I get halfway to the car, and I'm putting the buggy back up by the building because he likes that little special needs buggy with the one seat. I look in there, y'all, I ain't paid for my zucchinis or my body armor drink. I said, Lord Jesus, old me, just stick it in the bag. You're already outside. Nobody's going to know. But new, holy, sanctified me says, what you going to do if you pay for that 10 times over? If don't nobody else see, God sees. So in your day-to-day thing, what is it that you're doing that nobody else can see, but God still does? And if God sees, it don't matter if anybody else or the whole world sees, because God's the only one that matters. And that's Isaiah 1:17. It says, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and plead the widow's case. So that is saying to me, learn to do things the right way. Learn to handle things the right way. Stand up for what's right, absolutely. Because that's what God did, and that's what He's about, is having things decently and in order, things done the right way. Micah 6:8 says, He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. I think that's just kind of self-explanatory. When you're close enough to God that you are going through that sanctification process, and you're close enough to hear Him say, don't you dare act like that. Say this instead. Do this instead. Even if sometimes it doesn't make any sense to you, the closer you get to God, the more willing you are just to do whatever it is that He asks you to, the more apt you are to take on His character. And when you take on God's character and not your own, that's when doors open for you that you can't open for yourself. That's when miracles start popping off in your life. And I'm not going to pretend that it's all unicorns and rainbows and glitter peanut butter over here, baby, because it ain't. You know what I'm saying? Don't get that twisted. I do have miracles popping off in my life. It is. But that don't come without a cost. It is a daily consecration thing. It is a daily walk and the daily crucifying of flesh, of God, this is what I want to do. This is what I would do in my flesh. But God, if that's not how you would have me act, then I'm going to do things your way, because I've got enough history with God to know that his ways are always better than mine. Always. Even on my best days. Even on my best days. So let that be an encouragement for you. And I hope that it brings you the same comfort in the revelation that it did me. It's okay to fight. It is. But seek direction from God. Don't dare step into that battle. Whatever it is that you're facing, don't do it by yourself. You ask direction from God. And if he tells you something crazy, like run around the bush and step out first on your right foot, I promise you there's a reason for it. And if you ever get to the point where you can trust God with the crazy stuff when you ask direction, that's like a whole new level, man. So I hope y'all have a good night.